The main character of our story is Suzuki, an ordinary programmer caught in the everyday grind. Though IT is crowned the king of all jobs, chasing that radiant glory feels like an impossible dream. Like so many others, he's sold his soul to the corporate world, working even on Sundays. A new colleague couldn't handle the pressure and quit on the spot. So, Suzuki is left to shoulder all the work that person abandoned. While working, a colleague approaches with customer feedback. They want to make the war-themed game easier for new players. Even though they originally demanded it be super tough to draw players in, Suzuki bites his tongue and stays calm, offering a solution. After creating a character, players will get an item to scan the map. Along with that, 3 bombs to clear everything in sight. If they clear the area without items, they'll earn a rare achievement. It's a clever idea, so the boss tells Suzuki to implement it. But Suzuki is busy fixing bugs in a mobile game, so he asks his colleague to negotiate the deadline with the client. During lunch break, as Suzuki eats, he hears a little girl crying. He checks on her, turns out she's lost, and, with no one else around, he steps forward to check on her. He learns she's lost, so Suzuki decides to take her to the police station. But before he can, her mother suddenly appears. Suzuki feels a wave of relief, and even more joy that the mother doesn't suspect him of anything sinister. Back at the office, Suzuki dives back into fixing the game until nightfall. Meanwhile, his colleague heads home after 3 straight days at work. If he doesn't, his wife might file for divorce. At 29 and still single, Suzuki is fine staying late, selling his time to the corporation as long as needed. 3 more days pass like this, leaving Suzuki with eyes like a panda's from exhaustion. Just when it seems done, he gets a report from the testing team. The game's storage is glitched, and it's a tough item duplication error. Head pounding over that, Suzuki receives an email from the boss about removing storage limits on another game. Frustrated but dutiful, he grits his teeth and gets to work. After all that effort, Suzuki finally meets the deadline and crashes for sleep after 30 hours straight. As soon as he drifts off, Suzuki finds himself in a totally unfamiliar place. It's definitely not Earth, since his phone has no signal. Not only that, his appearance has reverted to his high school days. Looking closer, Suzuki realizes the world's backdrop feels eerily familiar. It's like a blend of the 2 games he's been fixing. Even the name Sato matches his in-game testing alias. A few minutes later, he hears a swarm of footsteps approaching. Checking his skills, Suzuki sees he can use a meteor shower 3 times and a map scan once. All ideas he created to help new players. After scanning, Suzuki knows they're all enemies, marked by red dots. There are 300 of them, all level 50, while he's only level 1. So, he chooses to run instead of fight, but they still track him and deal damage, making him wonder if this is really just a dream. To escape, Suzuki decides to use the meteor shower. But it's like a game glitch, nothing happens. He tries the other 2 times, but the result is the same. In his despair, suddenly hundreds of meteors rain down, wiping out the lizard soldiers one by one. Suzuki gains a massive experience boost from defeating them. When the meteor shower ends, the area around him is devastated. Yet, one soldier survives, standing far from the blast. For some reason, it throws a sword to Suzuki, challenging him to a fair fight. Of course, Suzuki is outmatched with no sword skills. Suzuki is quickly overpowered because he has no. Luckily, the soldier is already low on health from the meteors. Knowing that, Suzuki throws rocks and the sword at it. He succeeds, sending the lizard to its defeat in a dramatic finish. After that brutal encounter, even if it's just a dream, Suzuki feels shaken. So, he tries to log out, but it doesn't work. Fortunately, he has a self-heal skill, so his wounds vanish. On top of that, Suzuki's level has skyrocketed to 310, and all his stats are at maximum. He can even use the meteor shower again just by activating it. But worried about mana drain, Suzuki tests it out. The result? Its power and range are enormous, even from a distance. Luckily, his boosted level gives him the strength to escape the shockwave. Realizing he'd become a villain if he keeps using it recklessly, Suzuki decides to turn it off and save it for emergencies. Next, he checks his inventory and spots a water pouch. He takes it out, drinks some, and finds the water incredibly refreshing. Plus, the pouch has an endless supply. He also has a ton of gold from clearing those lizards. Checking further, Suzuki sees a cloak and quickly puts it on. That evening, he upgrades his combat skills. He doesn't want to face that kind of danger again. The next morning, Suzuki heads to a fortress marked on the map. He crosses mountains and forests one by one. After days of this, he finally arrives. Checking the map, he spots over 100 soldiers nearby. Besides them, he sees a wyvern appear. He jumps up to observe, but it suddenly flies at him and collides. The fall doesn't hurt, thanks to his high level. Then, Suzuki picks up a rock and throws it, piercing the wyvern's wing. In pain, the wyvern flees straight toward the soldiers. Feeling responsible, Suzuki chases after to see what happens. Sure enough, they clash, and the soldiers team up against it. Not understanding their language, Suzuki upgrades his translation skill. With it, he hears the commander giving orders to the troops. Though they coordinate perfectly, their arrows can't pierce the wyvern's scales. They manage to knock it down for more damage, but it's useless, the wyvern remains unscathed. The commander then orders a girl named Yenna to hold it back. Her magic backfires, blasting her away instead. Seeing that, Suzuki leaps in for a heroic rescue. When she wakes, Jenna panics at being so high up. Suzuki jumps high to safety, leaving her in awe. Once safe, Jenna thanks him profusely. Seeing her expression, Suzuki thinks he'd have fallen for her back in middle school. He introduces himself as Sato. Jenna politely introduces herself and hints that she's single. Mid-conversation, an arrow whizzes past Sato's face. The shooter is Jenna's teammate, thinking he's kidnapped her. Jenna calms them down, giving Sato a chance to explain he's a merchant. Still, they doubt him because he has so few possessions. Sato improvises that his carriage ran off during the meteor shower. The girls don't buy it, saying he should have run the opposite way. Sato adds that he was heading to a soldier's fortress to visit his father's benefactor's grave. He got caught in the shower and couldn't catch his carriage. They still don't believe him and demand his papers. He claims he left them in his coat on the carriage. Thanks to his persuasion skills, they finally stop questioning him. They allow Sato to hitch a ride to the city for new papers. He spots soldiers in the distance collecting loot from the wyvern. Jaina explains that armor and cloaks from its hide are tough and sell for a fortune. On the flip side, its meat tastes awful, eaten only by Western folks and slaves. With time to kill, Sato checks Salu's population stats. He learns 80% are commoners, and the rest are mostly slaves. Not just humans, there are elves and Demonkin too. As Sato finishes checking, they all spot the city. When Jaina asks about his plans, he says he'll rent a room. They see the city. When Jaina asks if he has plans, Sato says he'll rent a room first. The blonde swordswoman Jaina recommends a place called Get In. Once in the city, Jaina excuses herself to report back. Before saying goodbye, she promises to find Sato to repay the favor. As for Iona, she takes Sato to get new papers. To process it, the official asks Sato to place his hand on a magic stone. Then, he just needs to say his name aloud to scan his info. When Sato shouts his name, his status screen appears. Of course, he keeps his overpowered self hidden, showing only level 1. The official is stunned to learn Sato is an adult, thinking he looked younger. That surprises Sato since here, 15 is considered grown-up. For the permit, Sato just pays 1 silver coin. Merchant taxes are waived because he's Jenna's savior. The official also gives him a seal like a visa. It lasts only 10 days. To stay longer, he must renew here or at the city hall. If caught with an expired one, he'll face a silver fine. If he can't pay, he'll become a slave. After guiding Sato to the inn's sign, Iona bids him farewell. On the way to the inn, Sato is thrilled by everything around him. Suddenly, a busty girl approaches, hugs his arm, and tries to lure him to her inn, knowing he's new. Using his appraisal skill, he sees she's only 13. That shocks Sato, as she's quite developed for her age. Coincidentally, it's the same inn Iona recommended. The innkeeper is a plump woman, also the girl's mother. Sato thinks if she lost 15 to 20 kilos, she'd be a beauty. He explains why he has no luggage. Hearing that, she charges him just 1 gold coin for the stay, and offers a free meal if he eats at the counter. Sato agrees right away and plans to stay for 10 days. He asks if there's any food left, since he hasn't eaten in days. Past mealtime, the inn only has some leftover bread. With no other choice, Sato requests that. The owner mentions something about foolish merchants from earlier. Surprised by her calling them fools, Sato asks why. The innkeeper, Mrs. Moser, explains that during the meteor shower, they panicked, thinking the Demon King was warring with dragons. Sato is amazed this world has a Demon King. Mrs. Moser says it's been 70 years since a hero defeated him, with no revival news. She isn't too worried, as he'd hit the Labyrinth City first. Far away here, wyverns are the real threat. Since she's on the topic, Sato asks about dragons. According to her, they sleep a lot and rarely appear. The last one seen by humans was 2 years ago, and long before she was born, a black dragon attacked, causing huge damage. As Sato is about to ask about casualties, she gets a customer, so he pauses and enjoys his bread. Just then, the girl Martha suggests adding pickles to make it tastier. While she's free, Sato asks where to buy ready-made daily items. She eagerly recommends famous tailor shops. As for Sato, he's listening while his eyes are glued to the map in front of him. For Sato, he's half listening while his eyes are fixed on the map ahead. Since he had some free time too, Martha kindly volunteered to guide him along the way. As they strolled leisurely, Sato suddenly spotted a demi-human being treated with harsh cruelty. Just because she was a slave, no one wanted to touch her, leaving her isolated and alone. Sato couldn't bear to watch any longer, so he bravely stepped in to intervene. "Is your slave," so he said to chain. The young man thought she was Sato's slave, so he suggested chaining her up and keeping her in the western area. Next, Sato thoughtfully tied several pieces of wood together for the children. The other slaves were amazed by Sato's gentle kindness toward them. They also didn't forget to express their heartfelt gratitude before leaving. Martha was equally surprised to see Sato treating the demi-human with such care. After all, in this world, demi-humans weren't welcomed at all. It was because many hunters and farmers had been killed by them when visiting the city. Yet, Sato believed it might have been the work of thieves and bandits instead. Afterward, Martha led the young man on a tour through many parts of the city. He even picked up bargaining skills while visiting the stalls. To show his appreciation to Martha, Sato bought her a beautiful hair clip. As they walked further, the two stopped at a stall selling dragon masks. These were worn by the locals during the harvest festival to pray for peace and safety. Besides the masks, the stall also sold heroic black wigs. Other colors were for the hero's companions or the princess. In the end, Sato bought both items, unable to resist the tempting offer. As they continued, Sato was drawn to a slave girl on a carriage. Though only 11 years old, she had already reached level 10. She even held 2 titles, the Exiled Sorceress and the Mad Princess. Once back, Sato met a girl named Junie working part-time at the inn. After greeting her, he asked if there was a bath here. Martha explained that there was a public bath in the city, but commoners weren't allowed to use it. Normally, she bathed behind the inn where there was a well. Setting that aside, it was now time for dinner. Sato decided to try the dishes Martha recommended. Every dish was incredibly delicious, leaving the young man thoroughly satisfied. He even ordered another combo, unable to resist their tempting flavors. Back in his room, Sato reflected on all the adventures he had experienced. After some deep thought, Sato realized the story here didn't match the game he had programmed at all. It was far too strange for just a dream. It felt like a game, but he couldn't log out or save his progress. So, to uncover the truth, he ventured out alone to investigate. Sato's current plan was to explore the various places in this world. Finding a way home was just his second goal. The more he discovered, the more it would help him as a game developer. The next morning, Martha knocked on his door and said his girlfriend was waiting downstairs. He had no idea when he got a girlfriend, so he went down to check and saw Xena, who explained that with no duties today, she wanted to show him around the city. Not wanting to disappoint her, Sato gladly accepted her invitation. Then, Xena took Sato to buy some bread, and he chivalrously paid for it. This left Xena a bit flustered, as she was planning to repay him for yesterday. But for Sato, they were even since she had helped him enter the city. Besides that bread, the two visited many places to try other treats. Among them was a dish called fried dragon wings, which was actually just dropped wings. Just as Xena picked it up, a boy accidentally bumped into her, staining the dress she borrowed from her mother. Suddenly, a girl appeared and offered to use magic to clean the stain. With no other choice, the two reluctantly asked for her help. After stepping into an alley, the girl cast her spell to wash away the stain. Since it was water magic, it not only cleaned Xena's dress but also splashed Sato's eyes. So, once her dress dried with wind magic, Sato dared to turn back. After leaving the alley, Sato asked Xena how she chanted her spells. In the end, after hearing it, he thought it sounded like she was reciting a fun poem. When he asked more, he learned Xena had only seriously studied magic for 3 years. Before that, her parents guided her early to become a mage by letting her read comics about magic history. Of course, Xena never complained about her parents' choices, because she found it all quite enjoyable. Back then, just imagining she could fly one day was enough to excite her. As for Sato, when asked why he learned magic, he replied it was because the inn had no bath, so he wanted to use magic instead of bathing outdoors. Hearing that, Xena burst into laughter, as it was the first time she'd heard such a reason. By making the beauty laugh, Sato earned the title of the jester. Additionally, he gained the title of gentleman for admiring her dream of flying. After wandering a bit, the two stopped at a stall selling healing ointments. This ointment could mend skin wounds, and Sato decided to buy some for the innkeeper, as she had helped him so much. After buying it, Xena asked Sato if there were any other places he wanted to go, and he said he wanted to reach the top. So, Xena led him to the city walls to feel the breeze and gaze at the surroundings from above. There, Sato spotted a massive windmill in the distance. Xena explained that if enemies attacked, it would provide energy for defense. Seeing Sato's interest, Xena offered to take him there. On the way to the windmill, there was a temple, so the two decided to visit it first. Inside, there was a painting depicting the hero's battle against the Demon King. According to Xena, the holy sword glows blue when held by the hero. Hearing that, Sato curiously asked if it would glow for anyone else. The result was that exceptions could happen if the sword recognized the wielder. Suddenly, a nun named Ona appeared. She said wielding the holy sword wasn't necessarily a good thing. Because, according to her, only heroes who answered the goddess Paran's call could fight the Demon King. Finishing her words, Ona asked if her friend was dating Sato. Hearing that, Xena blushed and stumbled through an explanation. To speed things up to the windmill, the two hired a carriage. Along the way, the wheel hit a rock, causing Xena to fall into Sato's arms. It turned out the driver did it on purpose to help them get closer. Next, Xena introduced Sato to the city's defense system. Each tower had a powerful magic cannon for massive destruction, but one was destroyed by a dragon 2 years ago. Luckily, it was just a small dragon, so the damage wasn't severe. Compared to 40 years ago, when the outer walls were shattered by a black dragon, at that moment Sato asked if the Demon King was involved. According to Xena, it depended on the demon's nature, and the most terrifying were those who used their brains to control their kin, because demons could only be harmed by magic and holy artifacts. Just then, the two saw a crowd gathered to listen to a priest rant about the Demon King's minions, and according to him, demi-humans were the surviving creatures of the demon race. So, the priest urged everyone to judge them to gain merit, saying they couldn't stand by any longer. Unable to watch, Xena ran to stop this cowardly act. As for Sato, using his appraisal skill, he realized these demi-humans weren't the priest's slaves, their owner was the guild's chief watching from afar. Not only that, his henchmen were mixed in the crowd, stirring up trouble. While Xena protected the demi-human girls, Sato secretly took down the henchmen one by one. At that moment, a priest from another temple arrived to support Xena, making the verbal clash intense. He hadn't even acted when he was. The mastermind was enjoying the spectacle he created, but Sato suddenly appeared. He hadn't even reacted when the young man delivered a powerful kick to his stomach. Then, Sato brought the mastermind before the crowd to expose his scheme. This man had lent slaves to the temple and tried to scam people by claiming those stones were holy. As the people suspected he was a demon, it turned out to be true. Then, Sato remembered scanning a demon in the city when he first arrived. Though everyone else fled, only the 3 demi-humans couldn't move. Because without their master's command, their collars would strangle them. When their master was killed by that demon, they were finally freed. Seizing the chance, Sato quickly released them from their bonds. As for the demon, he suddenly cast a shadow spell. So, when Xena led soldiers to help Sato, they were all pulled in together. Upon waking, Sato found himself and the 3 demi-humans in a cave, hearing the one-eyed monster's mocking voice about fear. He said he would create monsters to tear Sato's group apart. Then, his group would be gripped by terror, and he would savor it. After the demon left, Sato introduced himself to the 3 girls. Since they had no names, they asked him to name them, and he called the cat girl Tama, the dog girl Pochi, and the lizard girl Liza, to clean themselves. Besides that, then, Sato handed them towels and water bags to clean themselves. Besides that, there was ointment to heal their external wounds. Though grateful, the girls felt shy accepting gifts from a stranger, partly because no one had treated them so well before, so only when Sato insisted it was an order did they take it. After washing up, they enjoyed a hearty meal. Once the 3 girls were full, Sato began assessing the situation. Using his skill, he easily mapped the labyrinth, including Xena and the soldiers' locations. Strangely, he couldn't find the one-eyed demon anywhere. This made him worry about a surprise attack while moving. Seeing Sato start to move, the 3 girls grew fearful. They said they'd even serve as bait if he agreed to take them along. Hearing that, Sato reassured them he had no such plan and was just scouting the path. Then, he gave Liza a sword, reminding her to fight only on his command. As they went further, Pochi smelled blood. When they approached, they saw a monster devouring a body. Seeing that, Liza advised Sato to sneak past while it was distracted. However, Sato chose to fire his gun to master sniping, maxing out the skill to take it down swiftly. Witnessing this, the 3 girls were stunned and curious about his weapon. Unable to reveal it was a gun, Sato explained it as a magic weapon. He also warned them to keep it a secret. Afterward, Sato used parts from the monster to craft a spear. He turned to give it to Liza, but saw her searching for the monster's core. That core was valuable, so she wanted Sato to keep it. With her new weapon, Liza passed the sword to Tama. Next, Sato used his gun to break their chains, but his sudden action startled Tama and Pochi. After apologizing, he told them to follow him out of the labyrinth. Though they had defeated many monsters, the girls' levels hadn't changed. At that moment, Sato got an idea. He told Tama to collect stones, and, when facing a monster, only wound it. Then, he instructed Tama to throw stones at it while Liza stabbed with the spear. And once they did, Sato delivered the finishing blow. Afterward, he told Tama and Liza to stay and collect the monster's core. He would go with Pochi to repeat the process. But she panicked and ran after throwing the stone. Once he finished it off, Sato chased her back to the others. When she calmed down, Pochi immediately apologized to Sato, running away, but only fearing she might lose her life. But he wasn't angry about her running, he was just worried she might lose her life in the panic. After that, they repeated the strategy many times. In the end, Tama and Pochi reached level 5, while Liza hit level 6. Noticing they were exhausted, Sato told them to rest and shared food to replenish their energy. The young man also told them to rest comfortably. Then, the young man told them to rest comfortably, but Liza refused, so Sato used a firm tone to order her to sleep while he kept watch. After catching their breath, the whole group pressed on, bravely taking down a swarm of fierce monsters along the way. As they traveled, they spotted an ancient house and stepped inside to gather much-needed supplies. The girl at that moment could now. Not long after, the 3 girls had gained the strength to take down a monster on their own. From that hard-won prize, the group enjoyed a delicious feast of grilled frog. With bellies full, the 3 girls headed off for a refreshing bath together. After bathing, they settled in for rest to restore their energy. As they continued their journey, they suddenly encountered a level 10 slime. Spotting it, Sato tried unleashing a fireball to destroy it, but it failed. Then, Liza shared the secret to defeating the slime, advising Sato to aim for its core. Next, Tama noticed something odd about the wall behind the slime. When Sato checked it out, he discovered a hidden passage behind the wall. As he finished checking, a level 40 wolf suddenly appeared and lunged at Sato, who was closest to it. Quickly, he used the trap behind the wall to fling it down below. Moving on, the group spotted 3 spider cocoons with signs of life inside. Sato urged the girls to help free the people trapped within. The first was a noble, who promised to reward Sato for saving him. The second was a slave trader. And the third was the young man who had scolded Pochi before. He refused to be touched by a demi-human, so he asked the girl to hand him the knife. Seeing this, Sato told Pochi to step back and just ignore the young man. The noble, tired of his ranting, threatened to roast him alive without waiting for any spider beast. As they went further, the 2 demi-human girls heard sounds of battle ahead. So, Sato quickly instructed the 3 to stay close behind him and guided the girls to support those in the fight. But the young man ignored Sato's orders and tried to prove himself. In the end, not only did he fail to defeat a low-level monster like the slime, but he was humiliatingly rescued by the 2 demi-human girls. Thanks to Sato's group stepping in, the soldiers regained control of the battle. Not seeing Xena anywhere, Sato rushed to find her and discovered she was captured. So, Sato freed the beautiful maiden, earning a warm embrace from her. Their tender moment didn't last long as Oa interrupted, reminding them to prioritize defeating the monsters. When asked by the priestess, Sato explained he knew their weaknesses through Ra. Xena felt a pang of sadness hearing her crush mention another girl. Once all the monsters were defeated, Oa tended to everyone's wounds. Xena's spirits lifted when she learned Lai was the demi-human girl she met in the square. While waiting for the soldiers to break the iron gate, Tama noticed something strange about the wall. Behind it was another passage, connected to where Sato had pushed the wolf earlier. Just then, the soldiers panicked upon discovering a treasure chest, but inside wasn't gold or riches, it was a one-eyed monster. To defeat it, the noble asked the soldiers to hold it off while he chanted his spell. Hearing this, the demon used stone magic to shatter their defenses. Then, it unleashed sound waves that plunged all the soldiers into illusions. Those affected saw their comrades as enemies. The demi-humans weren't spared, so Sato had to knock them out. By then, the noble had finished his chant and tried to destroy the monster, but it had no effect as it could resist magic. Surveying the chaos, Sato realized he was the only one left who could fight. Suddenly, the wolf from before tracked him down for revenge. Seeing it, Sato hatched a plan and let it push him into the passage. From his storage, a holy sword. With it, then once in a secluded spot, Sato pulled out a holy sword from his storage. With it, he easily defeated the wolf without much effort. Since the holy sword didn't recognize him, Sato took damage from using it. As a result, he had to put the sword away and wait for it to accept him. Meanwhile, Xena and the soldiers were still struggling against the demon. Bought from the market. Thanks to his help, the Sato appeared in a disguise, using a wig and mask bought from the market. With his support, the mages found an opening to deal damage to it. The 3 demi-human girls awoke, unable to see Sato but sensing his scent. Not wanting them to recognize him, the young man hurried to finish off the enemy. The demon, realizing it couldn't win, created a summoning circle. Sato tried to stop it, but the demon anticipated him and held him back. This gave it enough time to summon its master. According to the demon, its master was a fragment of the Demon King. The high-level demon then rewarded its minion by absorbing it, swallowing it whole. After absorbing its follower, the evil demon grew even more arrogant. With no other choice, Sato resorted to using the holy sword again. Spotting the familiar blade, the demon mistook Sato for a hero and fortified its body as much as possible. As a result, Sato struggled to make full use of the holy sword. He considered using meteor rain but realized the space was too cramped. It wasn't just Sato, fighting everyone was trying to help. Though they didn't deal much damage, their magic still had an effect. The staff to cast the upgraded spell. Recalling Xena's words, Sato maximized his fireball skill, sheathed the sword, and drew a staff to cast his upgraded magic. Sato was stunned to see the demon take massive damage. Onlookers thought it was advanced magic, but it was just a basic spell. Then, Sato remembered the world's truth. Only a hero can unleash the full power of the holy sword. Like Sato now, he had the sword but lacked the hero title. Yet, he had a similar title, the Godslayer. So, by combining it with the divine sword from his storage, he vanquished the demon before it could comprehend what happened. Back on the surface, the three demi-human girls were overjoyed to see Sato. But their mood soured when Sato told a soldier that the three weren't exactly his slaves. Brushing that aside, the soldier informed Sato that someone wanted to meet him. When Sato told the demi-human girls to follow, they brightened up instantly. Then, the young man Samaru appeared, thanking the demi-human girls and apologizing to Pochi for kicking her earlier. After he left, Xena rushed over and hugged Sato. As for Sato, he finally earned the hero title after that battle. Thanks to Mr. Nidoran, the three demi-human girls officially became Sato's slaves. Beyond handling the paperwork, he offered to show Sato other items. From the hut, a delicate girl named Lulu emerged to greet him. The second was Arisa, the girl he had met on the street before. What surprised Sato even more was how easily she pronounced his name. Suspicious, he whispered the same phrase to both girls. Only Arisa reacted when he said there was a spider in their hair in Japanese. Still, Sato decided to take both, as he couldn't leave them behind. From Arisa's personality, he saw she was outgoing, unlike the shy and fragile Lulu. Curious about Sato's slaves, Arisa approached Pochi and Tama. Of course, she didn't dislike them and even called the two girls adorable. Seeing this, Liza stepped forward to greet the new members. Sato was delighted that neither had any prejudice against demi-humans. As soon as they entered the city, Lulu's stomach grumbled with hunger. Noticing this, Sato thoughtfully suggested the group grab some food, making Pochi and Tama's eyes light up. Before, they were only given black bread. Arisa was amazed by Sato's kindness. Slaves like them were usually fed only black bread, at best with some hot soup. Lai's group got just one meal a day. When starving, they picked edible things like flowers and weeds to fill up. Touched by their stories, Sato treated the girls to a lavish meal. Seeing the feast before them, their eyes sparkled with excitement. Yet, all the girls remained polite, waiting for Sato's permission before digging in. Pochi and Tama, tasting such delicacies for the first time, forgot to blow on their food to cool it. Arisa was nearly overwhelmed by the cuteness of the two girls. Though not as good as at the get-in, the food here still suited Sato's tastes. Unlike him, the young demi-humans weren't used to spicy food yet. Only Lai could handle it, so she advised them not to force it and try other dishes. Spotting the girls' worn-out clothes, Sato decided to order more food and buy them new outfits. Lai offered to escort him, but Sato ordered her to stay and eat with the others. After shopping, Sato saw a grilled chicken stand and bought some skewers, remembering Lai's love for it. On the way back, he noticed a group of hungry demi-humans and gave them the chicken, promising to make it up to Lai later. The girls looked radiant in their new clothes thanks to Sato. Even Lai praised her master's eye for style. Next, Sato led the girls back to the get-in. With the group larger now, he planned to rent another room. However, the innkeeper said all rooms were full. What bothered Sato most was the unfriendly stares toward the demi-humans. So, he decided to camp with them, while the other two would stay in his room. Arisa calmly told her master to relax, then secretly used her ability to win over the people's sympathy. Once she spoke, their attitudes shifted. The innkeeper even remembered the stable could be used. Sato then used his ability to create a comfortable bed for the three demi-human girls, warning them to shout if anyone sneaked in he'd come running. Back in his room, Lulu tried to help Sato change, but he told her it wasn't necessary. He grew even more flustered seeing both her and Arisa undress. When Sato ordered them to dress, Arisa was shocked. Lulu burst into tears, thinking she couldn't be of any help to her master. Seeing this, Sato gently draped a coat over her and assured her she didn't need to do such things anymore. As he slept deeply, Sato suddenly learned mind magic and mind resistance. Waking up, he found Arisa sitting on top of him. She wasn't wearing anything and even forced a kiss on him. Without mind resistance magic, Sato might have been completely ensnared. Very surprised to see him able to Arisa, was very surprised to see him counter her ability. To stop Arisa from causing more trouble, he forbade her from using magic. Only then did Sato realize she had used it on the inn's people earlier. So, besides the ban, he demanded she undo it on them, but she pretended to be innocent and clueless. Seeing this, Sato upgraded his interrogation skill to make her confess everything. Through that, he learned Arisa had fallen for him. At first, this dark hair and innocent face made her want him as her husband. Now that he was her master, yet he didn't want her services. Unable to accept that, she used magic to claim him. But originally, Arisa only planned to sneak into bed to watch him sleep, overcome by her desires. Afterward, Arisa admitted she was Japanese like Sato. More precisely, she had reincarnated here and kept her past memories. From his dark hair, she guessed he was summoned as a hero. Arisa revealed he was the second Japanese person she met in this world. Though not Lulu, it was her distant ancestor. If born in Japan, Lulu could have been an idol with that beauty. But people here didn't see her as pretty. Returning to the topic, Arisa asked if Sato was reincarnated or summoned. According to her, reincarnation means dying in the previous world and being reborn here, while summoning means being forced here by magic. But Sato didn't fit either case. He met no gods and saw no summoning circle. His level was a perfect round one, and he wasn't dirty at all. Thinking back, Sato realized his meteor rain skill was quite unbalanced. Setting that aside, Sato now delves into the heartbreaking reason why Arisa became a slave. But since the author kept this part hidden, it'll all unfold later. The next morning, Martha leads Jenna straight to Sato's room to wake him, and both of them freeze in shock upon hearing Lulu's sleep-talking that sparks wild misunderstandings. On top of that, they spot the young man sleeping beside a naked little girl, adding to the chaos. So, Jenna screams, calling Sato a pervert, and then dashes out in a panic. At that moment, Arisa advises her master to chase after her right away. Hearing this, Sato quickly changes and leaps out the window to catch up with Jenna. Right after, he grabs her hand and explains everything, assuring her it was all just a big mix-up. Sato tells her he bought the slaves not for anything improper. As for Arisa being in bed, it's because she sneaked in after he was fast asleep. Then, Sato sweetly compliments Jenna's outfit and mentions knowing a fabulous clothing shop, offering to take her there. After that, Arisa praises Sato for soothing the situation in less than 5 minutes. Hearing that, the young man flicks her forehead, since she's the root of all this trouble. Once he tells her to gather everyone, Sato suddenly recalls last night's events. According to Arisa, she was once a princess in her past life. She tried using knowledge from her previous life to make her kingdom thrive. At first, everything seemed noble, but it all started crumbling over time. Conflicts erupted everywhere back then. Seizing the kingdom's weakness, neighboring lands invaded. They publicly executed the king and the heir prince, while survivors lost their status and became slaves. But suddenly, a demon appeared and destroyed the castle and fortress. In the midst of the chaos, Arisa and Lulu fled to the mountains. They thought they were safe, but a slave trader unexpectedly found them. Back to the present, the girls have all gathered, except Lulu, who's not feeling well. Then, Sato hands Arisa a pouch of money and tells her to buy essentials for everyone. The beastkin will tag along to protect her from pickpockets and kidnappers. Plus, to handle any surprises, Sato allows Arisa to use magic. Seeing the girls getting along so well, Sato feels a deep sense of relief, believing they don't deserve to be treated as slaves. When they're alone, Jenna asks Sato if he has any plans for today, and the young man replies that he's looking for a place for the demi-humans to live. Wanting to stay by Cruz's side, Jenna offers to join him. After that, they head to an office to meet a broker named Nadi. Learning that Sato wants to live with demi-humans, she suggests the Western District. The area isn't too pricey since it's full of criminals, but Sato wants something around 1 gold coin. So, hearing that, Nadi proposes a few suitable spots. The first place looks decent, but its previous owner was assassinated by a criminal. The second one faces a brothel, and the third has a criminal hideout buried underneath. Not finding anything ideal, Nadi says she'll return to the office and check for better options. While waiting, Sato asks Jenna if she'd like to go somewhere. Hearing this, Nadi suggests they visit the new flea market that opened yesterday. She whispers to Jenna that it's perfect for couples on a date. But halfway there, they bump into the demi-human group. They finish shopping and stored everything back at the inn. In their new outfits, the girls all look adorably charming. Arisa even changed her hair color, since purple is seen as bad luck here. After that, Sato decides to bring the whole group to the flea market with him. He apologizes to Jenna for the sudden change, but she says it's fine. To make up for it, Sato buys her a pair of earrings as a gift. But then Arisa jumps in, saying she wants something too, so Sato promises to get each of them a special treat. Later, the group heads to an outdoor stage to watch a play. It's a romantic genre, not really the kids' style. Even Lulu is just focused on the skewers around the stage. The play Sato's watching is based on a true story. It tells of an ordinary mage named Jen, who shared a passionate romance with Princess Latina. The princess's fiancé, consumed by jealousy, ordered the slaughter of Jen's family, and even manipulated her servant to kill him. Overwhelmed with grief, the princess took her own life to be with her love. It seemed the story ended there, but then came a shocking twist. Jen's body, thrown into the abyss, resurrected as a demon, and wiped out the Duke's henchmen. Just as he was about to finish the Duke, a holy knight appeared and struck him down. From that point, the Duke's personality suddenly changed. He was redeemed and became a good man, transformed into a good man. On his way to the restroom, Sato spots a handkerchief on the ground. When he returns it, the owner asks for his thoughts on the play. Apparently, in the original script, Jen was killed after avenging the Duke. But the nobles objected, so it was changed. And in the real story, the heroine was a commoner. She was happily in love, until the Duke abducted and forced her to marry him. After bidding farewell to the handkerchief's owner, Sato rejoins his group. He notices Jenna and Arisa are the only ones seriously watching the play. Though their feelings differ, Jenna feels no sympathy for Princess Latina, while Arisa thinks the princess should have grabbed a sword and avenged the Duke. Hearing that, Jenna retorts that the princess caused it all by breaking the arranged marriage. She shattered the engagement set by both families. Not wanting to back down, Arisa uses Jenna as an example, asking if she'd choose the one her family picks or the one she loves. Caught off guard, Jenna freezes, unsure how to respond. How to respond? One side is love, one side is love, one side is duty, making it tough to decide. Seeing Jenna's distress, Sato steps in and tells Arisa to apologize. To lighten the mood, he sends his slaves to buy some grilled skewers. Of course, he'll cover the cost. Afterward, while strolling, they run into Iona's group. They've just fought the ant fangs and are covered in bruises. According to them, they spotted a group of rat cavalry crossing the border, which likely drew the ant fangs to attack. Once Rina heals her teammates, they all hear a sudden scream. It turns out to be Junie, shocked at seeing Tama's group catch a giant ant. At that moment, Sato checks around and sees the whole swarm approaching the city, so he orders the girls to prepare for battle. Though the enemies are numerous, they're all low level, so even without a hero, the army can handle them easily. Many don't even breach the simple barrier. Since Lulu can't fight, Sato tells Arisa to take her to safety. Pochi and Tama are assigned to guard the inn. Sato and Lisa will head to the front lines with the army. As expected, the ants are no match for Jenna and her team. With Sato and Lisa's help, only a few get through, but Pochi and Tama quickly eliminate them. Using his tracking skill, Sato notices some ants have reached Nadi's place, so he leaves everything here to Lisa and heads to the broker's office. Upon arrival, Sato pulls out a hammer to wipe out the ants inside. But Nadi can't climb up because the ant's acid is still on the stairs. As Sato looks for something to help her, her manager suddenly appears to rescue her. Grateful for their save, she gives each of them a kiss. According to Nadi, her manager is actually a spirit, a soul of the forest, not an elf as people think. It's because the first hero called long-eared beings that, and after millennia, the confusion lingers. After leaving, Sato sees the army destroying the ant corpses. As for Jenna, spotting Sato, she runs toward him and trips into his arms. She's disappointed their outing got cut short. Though she'd love to continue, she's busy, so she reschedules with Sato for another time. Then, Sato notices a soldier pressuring Lisa to sell monster cores. At first glance, Sato knows the man is using government rules to scam, so Sato pulls out his merchant license and demands a proper receipt. The man claims he's not stealing, so why bother? But for Sato, as a merchant, even dealing with gods requires caution. Thanks to that, he spots the man's number error and insists on the full payment. With that money, as night falls, the group throws a lavish feast. Not only that, the innkeeper adds extras. It's to thank Pochi and Tama for protecting the inn from the ants. Now, seeing Lulu still unwell, Sato steps out to buy medicine for her. On the way, he encounters two of the people he saved in the labyrinth. Seeing their sincere gratitude, Sato can't refuse their offer. As a result, he ends up in a tavern with some close-serving ladies. After leaving the tavern, Sato spots an owl feather. Plus, he hears a fight breaking out in the alley nearby. Rushing over, Sato faces eerie shadows and draws his gun to handle them. Then, he discovers the pursued one is the rat cavalry Aona's group mentioned. Though gravely injured, the knight urges Sato to care for the princess first. Afterward, Sato takes both to Nadi's place. However, both Nadi and her manager are asleep, so he picks the lock to enter. Hearing the noise, they come down and see Sato. Of course, he apologizes for barging in uninvited. He did it so the manager could meet an old acquaintance. But upon seeing the rat knight, the manager claims not to know him. Sato wants to show them it's the little. However, what Sato wants to show them is the little spirit girl over there. Indeed, the manager knows her, and according to him, her name is Mia. Stirred by the noise, the little girl opens her eyes. Yet, after glancing at Sato and calling him beautiful, she drifts back to sleep. Meanwhile, the old rat knight's condition worsens. Seeing this, Nadi decides to rush for a priest to heal him. Sato wants to go too, worried about her going alone. The next morning, when Arisa learns Sato visited a brothel, she scolds him. With a young beauty at home, full of life, how could he not cherish that? Worse, he reeks of animal fur. At this, Sato explains he went out last night to get medicine for Lulu. And along the way, he accidentally saved a demi-human on the brink of death. Hearing that, Arisa shows a jealous face, asking if that person was male or female. Even though Sato says it was male, she keeps twisting it anyway. She insists her master must have a sword-fighting fetish, explaining why he hasn't touched her. Just then, Lulu wakes up from the noise of their argument. Seeing her, Sato tells Lulu to take care and hands her the medicine bag. After changing, the young man heads to Nadi's place, and according to her, the rat has stabilized. As for Mia, she's unharmed, she's just exhausted. The manager says she has symptoms like long-term mana depletion. When Sato uses his appraisal skill, he sees Mia isn't sick or cursed. So, though slow, her mana is gradually recovering. Nadi mentions a mana potion would speed it up, but it's very expensive. Another way is to take Mia to mana-rich spots, like ley lines or springs. Sadly, those are at the Earl's Castle and the Dragon Valley. The second one's been conquered, so Sato's debating whether to go. But before he decides, he hears a noise upstairs. Realizing Mia's awake, he tells Nadi to go up to her. Spotting Sato, the little girl calls him a spirit user. However, the young man has never seen a spirit before, and as Nadi explains, only those with spirit sight can see them. After explaining, she asks Sato to stay with Mia while she cooks. Alone with her, Sato asks the little girl what spirits really are. The result leaves him stunned, as Mia describes them as soft, shimmering beings. Feeling helpless, Sato tries asking her to say good morning in the spirit language. Thanks to that action, Sato later learned that very language and realized that spirits exist along the ley lines, nurturing the world around them. Since he'd left his little ones at home for quite a while, Sato now asked for permission to return, but when he saw that Mia didn't want him to leave, he promised to come back soon. As soon as he got back to the inn, Sato saw Arisa teaching letters to the demi-humans. So, he decided to check what the kids had learned so far. In the end, every card with animals on it just meant one word to them: meat. The reason was that the kids answered with such bright faces that Arisa couldn't bear to correct them. For the kids' future, Sato then straightforwardly corrected their mistakes. A moment later, Martha suddenly appeared and told Junie to stop playing and get back to work, but she was stunned to hear the girl say she'd already finished everything. It turned out that with Tama and Pochi's help, the girl had completed it so quickly. During lunch afterward, Sato shared with everyone about Mia and the Rat Knights. As a princess, the girls immediately suggested. Once they knew she was a princess, the girls immediately suggested that he should meet her. Lulu would join too, since her health had improved a lot. When they finally saw Mia in person, all the girls were utterly amazed. They were not only surprised by her beauty but also enchanted by her hair color. Seeing that, Sato felt at ease leaving Mia in their care. It seemed the girl could talk to strangers only because Sato was there. When Sato went downstairs, Nadi suddenly asked if he was a merchant. She found it strange that he didn't have a carriage like other merchants. Hearing that, Sato spun another tale, saying his horse had lagged behind after the meteor shower. After hearing his answer, Nadi offered to introduce him to a place selling carts. A merchant friend of the manager was retiring and wanted to sell it along with 2 horses. Sato was grateful for the offer, but he didn't have a license for that vehicle. At that moment, Lulu chimed in, saying she had experience driving horses and could teach him. Hearing that, Sato quickly asked Nadi to introduce him to that cart. That surprised her, since he didn't even ask about the price. Luckily, just then a carriage passed by the window, so he used his appraisal skill to gauge its value. Thanks to that, Sato could offer a fair price, including a commission for her. The next day, Sato and the girls had a camping trip outside the city walls. With Arisa's clever direction, they prepared everything in no time. She even created items from the old world, like a kettle, for use. As a result, Tama's group started yelling when they heard the water boiling from it. Sato explained, "That's just a sound to let everyone know the water is ready. It's because when water heats up, it turns into steam." At that point, Arisa interjected, saying, "Explaining it like that, the kids won't get it." So, she simplified it. Water boils and creates white steam, and when the steam is strong, it lifts the kettle lid easily. It's just like how, when people blow on something, the steam makes a sound. After eating their fill, as Sato watched the kids play, he spotted 3 white dots approaching them. The beastkin that he had given food to before, they were no other than the beastkin he had given food to before. To thank Sato, they had picked a lot of fruits to give him. Though he wanted to accept them to honor their kindness, he thought the kids needed them more. So, Sato pulled out some meat and gave it back to the kids instead. He said his group had extras and wanted them to take it. Of course, Sato didn't forget to cover the mouths of his 2 meat-loving cats to stop them from interrupting. The next day, Nadi handed over the carriage to Sato. At that moment, Arisa suggested he use it to take Mia back home. Hearing that, Sato agreed right away, but he needed to discuss it with the manager. While waiting for him to return, Sato took the chance to have Lulu teach him how to drive the carriage. After interacting with Lulu, he noticed she opened up quite easily. When he brought up the topic of her sister Arisa, she talked very comfortably. The reason was that she felt so proud of her prodigy sister. Through that conversation, Sato realized Arisa hadn't revealed her past life memories to her sister. With Lulu's guidance, Sato unlocked his driving skill. It quickly leveled up to the maximum after a few practice runs. After driving for a while, Lulu started to feel tired. Suddenly, Sato sensed a strange presence ahead, and looking up at the branch, he spotted a black owl. It stared right at him, then flew down to perch on the passing carriage. After returning to the brokerage office, Sato saw the kids were there too. Thanks to the mana potion the manager brought, Mia could now go outside. To celebrate the princess's recovery, Arisa suggested Sato throw a party. Of course, Sato agreed immediately, as he couldn't bear to disappoint the kids. After asking Liza and Lulu to buy supplies for the party, Sato once again saw the black owl watching them. When he entered Nadi's house, she informed him that the rat man had woken up. As soon as he met his benefactor, the man thanked him and introduced himself as Mai, while recounting what happened to Mia. According to him, the girl had been kidnapped by a sorcerer and imprisoned in a place called Grado. After escaping, Mia met Mai's group, so they tried to bring her to the manager in this city. Even the flying ants attacking the city were sent by that sorcerer. Sato sensed that Manager Do might be the only one who knew the real reason, but since he didn't want to share, Sato didn't press further. Just then, Sato heard the girls screaming from downstairs. He and the manager rushed down to find out it was just everyone scared of the thunder. At that moment, Tama spotted the black owl inside the building. Then, from within it, a mysterious man in a black cloak appeared. Next, he used mind magic to control everyone. But it didn't affect Arisa, as she had that kind of magic too. Sato resisted it too, thanks to awakening his skill after Arisa's enchantment. Using his appraisal ability, Sato saw the foe's name was Jen. That made him think of the main character in the play. Seeing Jen about to take Mia, Sato stepped in and introduced himself. Though he introduced himself as a merchant, Jen insisted he was a hero's descendant. He had no intention of harming anyone. If Sato just handed over Mia, but of course he refused because she was his important friend. With that, Sato charged in first for the advantage, but failed and even got restrained by Jen's shadows. Seeing her master in trouble, Arisa unleashed her attack magic on him. Insulted as lowly, the sorcerer countered back, but Sato blocked it, and Manager Do helped out, escaping the shadow whip. But even thanks to that, Sato got a chance to escape the shadow whip. But still, the power gap between them was huge. Not wanting to involve everyone, Mia told them to just leave her. Hearing that, Arisa scolded her and secretly cast a spell from behind. Noticing that, Sato stepped up to talk to Jen and distract him. Though he knew the enemy's identity, he pretended to ask to buy time. Once ready, Arisa told Sato to step aside so she could attack. But it failed, even with her unique magic. At that moment, seeing Arisa's purple hair, he realized she was a reincarnated one. He also warned Sato to advise her against using that skill again, if he didn't want her to become a plaything for the gods. With that, he grabbed Mia and used the shadow whip to block Sato, challenging him to follow if he wasn't afraid of death, to a place called the Cradle. At that time, Liza's group arrived, and Sato told them to care for the others while he chased the enemy, and promised to return safely with Mia. Stepping through the gate, Sato found himself in an endless void. There, his endurance and stamina drained over time, and even his map skill wouldn't work. After some thought, Sato realized this space was just like in a game. So, he used his programmer abilities and successfully broke through it. The scene before Sato now looked exactly like a divine temple. Mia was there too, being treated kindly. At that moment, Gen appeared and was shocked that Sato had made it. He said Sato cheated, as only those who conquered the cradle could reach this room. That led Sato to think Gen was the administrator of that space. Hearing that, he denied it, saying, "It's not a game, it's a trial. Heroes must conquer it first to reach here. Then they can challenge the immortal king, which is me." But Sato didn't care about that, he just wanted to save Mia first. But he couldn't do it right away, as the sorcerer pushed him out of the king's room. His goal was for Sato to conquer the cradle from the start. Now, Sato could use his map skill again. With it, he learned this place bordered Earl Ryu's territory, rich in mana, so he wasn't worried about saving Mia, but he couldn't return empty-handed. So, he decided to enter the tree to rescue her. Stepping through the door, Sato immediately encountered enemies. They were just low-level monsters, so they posed no real threat. Thanks to his map skill, Sato knew the cradle had 200 floors total. The floors were grouped in tens, and every 20 floors, there was a spiral staircase to go up. One thing he needed to note was that the higher he went, the stronger the monsters got. After going a bit further, Sato noticed someone sleeping behind the leaves. When that person appeared, he realized it was a dryad. Sato thought defeating her would let him go to the next floor, but since she was out of mana, she postponed it. However, after observing him, the dryad found Sato quite handsome. So, she demanded he become hers and said she was hungry, asking for something to eat. He offered dried beef, but Dryas refused because she needed mana. With no other choice, he let her take it through a kiss. Getting a huge amount of mana from the handsome guy left Dryas fully satisfied. So, she opened a path for Sato to go deeper. There, he saw an abandoned lab and a diary from someone named Toya. In it, he wrote that his elf race had a strangely weak bond to life and little will to resist. So many young ones died in labyrinths. The cradle was created to instill a survival will in elves facing danger. Yet, in the last 100 years, no one had completed it. Its master admitted it was a mistake and decided to seal it until the elves needed it again. From the name, Sato realized Toya was from the same lineage as Mia and the manager, so he guessed that might be why this place needed Mia. After leaving the room, Sato asked Dryas how to reach the upper floors. She happily told him to stand among the fairy mushrooms and asked which floor he wanted. He said he wanted to go to the cradle's master's room, but Dryas said that was impossible. She could only take him up to floor 100. It's the guardian's room, they're very strong, so she warned him to be careful. When he reached floor 100, 3 identical girls stood before him. Besides them, there was a massive golem. Since he wasn't prepared, the girls asked him to wait, get his weapons, and then they'd welcome him properly. According to them, he'd earn the right to proceed if he defeated the guards here. Not only that, but he'd get rewards for winning. With that, the middle girl ordered the level 30 iron golem to attack Sato. At that moment, Sato spotted an E above it, so he shot and pierced the letter E. That successfully defeated it, as E meant death. The girls were programmed, so their surprise looked blank, but they decided to retreat after realizing they couldn't win. Even the number 7 girl used tactics to stall for the other 2. In the end, after a coordinated strike, numbers 5 and 6 retreated, leaving number 7 to fight alone. But she was instantly defeated by Sato with just a single, powerful punch. After carefully preparing a resting spot for number 7, he began exploring the room on the 100th floor. There, he found many weapons and rare, valuable potions, so Sato decided to take a few essential ones. As he continued on, he spotted Dry on this floor, withered and appearing dead, so Sato poured water on her to help her find peace. However, she suddenly awoke, grabbed the water pouch to drink, and then asked Sato to let her absorb mana, just like on the lower floor. After receiving a large amount of mana, she revived fully and explained that all Drys are connected, so she knew what happened below. Next, Sato asked how many floors she could take him up. At that moment, Dry suddenly transformed into Yangdu Meek and lost connection to the upper floors, so she could only take Sato up to floor 180. Once there, Sato realized it was because insects had chewed through the connecting vines. No sooner had he finished speaking than the creatures suddenly appeared. Though their numbers were quite large, they posed no real challenge to him. Sato's swift conquest of the cradle left Gen utterly astonished. But Sato didn't care about that, he just wanted Gen to release Mia peacefully. However, the sorcerer said Sato wasn't strong enough to face him yet, and must first battle his minions to earn the hero's title. Only then would he grant Sato a long-lost holy sword as a reward. He explained that if Sato gave it to any king, they would bestow glory beyond imagination. With that, he summoned all his subordinates to fight Sato. Sato noticed the homunculus team had been reinforced, but only 7 remained, since 1 had been defeated on the lower floor. Sato was surprised that the sorcerer not only empowered his minions but also boosted Sato himself. Before he could ask why, the sorcerer had already moved to a higher spot to watch. The battle began. As soon as Sorcerer Gen left, his minions charged at Sato in a frenzy. To destroy the golems, Sato pulled out a spear to learn its skills, then upgraded it to maximum level to pierce through them. As for the homunculi, Sato used martial arts to take them down. But no matter how many times they fell, they kept rising again. This puzzled Sato, so he asked the girls why they sacrificed themselves for someone who saw them as mere pawns. The homunculi replied in unison that it was their wish. With that, the girls charged at Sato once more in a wild assault. After many such attempts, they finally exhausted themselves and could no longer stand. Before the last homunculus fainted, she asked Sato to help her master fulfill his wish. Sato's performance left Sorcerer Gen thoroughly impressed. As promised, he handed over the holy sword as Sato's reward. Then, Sato asked what the sorcerer's true wish was. The answer was to find a hero who could end his life. In his past life, he died unjustly and cruelly, so God reincarnated him as a newborn child. Born to honorable parents and meeting kind friends, he thought his new life would end beautifully. But one day, a noble kidnapped his wife and executed him and his family with false accusations. Thanks to God's grace, he was revived once more. To avenge the noble, he turned his sacrificed loved ones into undead. After completing his revenge, he sought a path to death to reunite with his wife and family, but God's blessing prevented it. As a result, he became the immortal King of Darkness. Now, the hero he awaited has arrived, so he asked Sato to free him before he turns into the Demon King. Sato had no reason to refuse, so he fulfilled the request with the holy sword in hand before the sorcerer vanished. The King of Darkness sincerely thanked Sato, his joy evident as he neared reunion with his wife. Once Gen had fully vanished, Sato heard strange voices. They said he won this time, but next time they met, things would be different. As the voices faded, the system announced the cradle had initiated self-destruction. Hearing that, Sato rushed to Mia to wake her. He asked if she knew how to stop the cradle's self-destruction, but even Mia was helpless, so Sato had to figure it out himself. Through that, he realized there was no intent to harm Mia, so he set up an escape path for her. Then, he gathered the homunculi and placed them near her. He told Mia to go ahead, as he needed to save one more homunculus. Once Mia safely left the cradle, Sato jumped straight to floor 180, then used the hole from his earlier fight with the insects to leap to floor 100. After finding homunculus number 7, Sato quickly took her to Dry to ask her to get them both out of the tree. But to do that, Dry needed some seeds and energy. Thanks to the fruits the Beastkin kids gave, the first condition was easily met. For the second, Dry warned it would take 3 times the energy as before. But Sato agreed immediately, as his mana had mostly recovered. Hearing that, Dry began absorbing energy and connected to a tree outside the cradle. Thanks to that, she successfully got Sato's group out quickly and advised him to run, as the collapsing cradle was turning into a sea of salt. Sato told Dry she should leave too, but she refused, because as long as the forest lives, she can survive. After that, Sato learned skills to run faster and navigate terrain, yet, even that wasn't enough to escape the situation. Running further, he spotted a lake. Through it, he recalled the kettle's principle when water boils, so Sato used a fireball to make the water erupt into walls. That slowed the salt wave significantly, giving Sato time to escape the affected area and reach safety. As dawn broke, Doo's group and Sato's slaves were overjoyed to see him. Even someone as strong as Lisa burst into tears, unable to hold back her emotions. Seeing Arissa, Sato remembered Gen's warning. He had to restrain her from using the power God granted, or she'd face the same fate as him. After Sato's group reunited, Doo and Mia approached him. The princess was thrilled that he kept his promise to return safely. To show her gratitude, she gave Sato a gentle kiss. Next, the homunculi awoke. The girls were grateful to Sato for helping their master fulfill his wish, so they swore loyalty to him from now on. But before joining Sato, they needed to deliver Gen's ring to his wife's grave. Not all 8 would go, they'd send one to stay with Sato. After rock, paper, scissors, number 7 was chosen to stay. For ease, Sato named her Nana. With everything settled, the night Gen and the 7 homunculi bid farewell to continue their path. Back in the city, Sato explained his disappearance as being captured by a mysterious necromancer, and thanks to 6 swordsmen, he returned safely. Jenna rushed to meet Sato, as she'd been worried all along. Seeing that, he soothed her with gentle words and gave her the earrings he bought at the black market last time. Then, Sato told Jenna about his plan to leave the city for the Io village. Her words hit like thunder, thinking he might never return, but she calmed down when he promised with a pinky swear. The next morning, Sato's group set out for the Io village. Of course, they didn't forget to bid farewell to those who helped them in the city. Not long after leaving the gates, Sato saw Rena galloping after them, so they had a private chat in the forest. Gina said she couldn't join Sato now, but when her brother comes of age and takes over the family, she'll be free. She hoped that by then, Sato would allow her to join him, as she'd be free and wished to travel together. Seeing Sato's sad expression after parting with Jenna, Arisa comforted him, reminding him that he still had her and the other girls by his side. Her encouraging words eased Sato's sorrow, helping him appreciate what he had. After traveling a good distance, they stopped for lunch. The meal cooked by Lulu, Liza and Nana was delicious, so Sato praised them. Seeing Mia being picky, he gently reminded her. But as Arisa explained, the Io race can't eat meat. After eating their fill, they prepared snacks for the road. Seeing that, Arisa stepped in and said she'd store it in her item box. According to her, each storage or retrieval costs a fair amount of mana. Unlike Sato's storage, which requires no trade-off, though that's the case, Sato still doesn't fully understand his storage's capabilities. However, he's grown used to life in this world, so he said he'd explore it gradually. Now that the group had rested, Sato decided to continue the journey. He assigned tasks to each to prepare the luggage. Before that, he assigned tasks to each person to prepare the luggage. Seeing Mia's condition had improved since being captured by Jen, he was very glad. At that moment, Arisa approached Sato and asked if she could fix the straw mat, because sitting on it made the straw poke her, causing itchiness. Hearing that, Sato told her to bring out all the mats so he could fix them all. He even used red earth material like goat skin to cover them, astonishing Arisa. Seeing that, she joked it was because he wanted their seats to stay soft for his enjoyment. Next, the girls were amazed at Sato's sewing skills, but it was all for nothing since he forgot to tie the thread ends. After fixing all the mats, he made a stuffed duck. In Nana's eyes, it was adorable, so she wanted it for herself. To ensure no one felt left out, Sato made one for each of them. After that, they resumed their journey and later stopped to rest when everyone was tired. When Liza said it was time to leave, Sato decided to stay a bit longer. To let Pochi and Tama play, he sent them to scout the nearby rocks. Finding it interesting, Arisa decided to follow the kids. Meanwhile, under the tree, Nana was watching Mia play a leaf flute. Its melody was so moving that Sato stepped closer to praise her. Seeing her master enjoyed it, Nana asked Mia to teach her. Sato had to remind her that Mia doesn't like being called princess. After that, Liza and Lulu joined in. They all showed potential except Sato, who was beyond help despite upgrading his instrument skills. His leaf playing was worse than Canon's singing. Even Arisa, when she heard it, could hardly believe her ears. But setting that aside, she asked him to come with her for a moment. And then, Sato was stunned to see Toria gates before him. He felt a strange sense of familiarity, as if he'd seen these gates before. Suddenly, a memory flashed in Sato's mind. The girl in the memory said they would be together forever. No matter the world or era, he would always be Ichiro. Sato recalled that the shrine in the memory was behind his grandfather's house. But he wasn't sure if that girl was his childhood friend. She mentioned that human and divine lifespans differ, so for them to stay together, divine intervention was needed. After that, Sato snapped out of the vision thanks to Arisa's call. Checking his status, he found no signs of mental attack. Then, Sato remembered making a game based on that shrine. But he didn't recall that dialogue from his life, so he figured it might be from a game, or something similar. Checking again, Sato realized it was a travel gate, but it was broken, so it was useless. Seeing Sato return, Pochi happily ran over to show her spoils. As for Liza, wanting to learn butchering, she went with her for lessons. Seeing Pochi covered in dirt from catching rabbits, Sato asked Mia if she knew any water magic like the light wash from Life Magic. Just as Mia said she didn't know, Tama returned. Seeing the cute rocket wolf she caught, Arisa asked to hold it. Since it was a monster, Sato warned her to be careful. But because she didn't hold it tightly, Arisa let it escape, leaving Tama upset. Arisa quickly apologized, but the other one just brushed it off, saying it was no big deal. Even so, Tama still looked so downhearted that Sato stepped in to comfort her gently. He told her that as long as she's safe, there will always be new chances waiting. Just then, Pochi's stomach started growling loudly from all the intense hunting earlier. Hearing that, Arisa pulled out some food from her item box for the little ones to enjoy. And the kids devoured it eagerly, even though it had gone cold. Once they finished eating, the whole group set off on their journey again. In a quiet moment, Sato checked his storage and spotted a book on illusion magic. It turned out that when he defeated Jen, it automatically got added to his inventory. Through that book, Sato realized that magic in this world works just like programming languages. It's as if the founder of magic here was a programmer at heart. Thanks to it, Sato saw how complex everyday magic truly is, because it doesn't match any basic magic forms at all. Instead of copying it, Sato examined the key techniques for everyday magic and adapted water magic elements into an algorithm to create something new. Lost in his research, Sato suddenly felt his hand squeezing something soft and warm. He closed the research window and realized it was Nana's chest he was touching. Seeing that, Arisa and Mia teased him, calling him a naughty one. Meanwhile, Nana had pressed it into his hand, and just then, Sato noticed several white dots appearing on his map. The info showed they were rat people, so he remembered old Mai's words. He had set out to find his lost comrades during their mission to protect Mia. So, Sato told Lai's group to stop the carriage, and then went to the other wagon owner to buy back those rat people. Reunited with Princess Mia, they rushed to hug her, and thanked Sato for saving her and them. However, with duties calling, those knights asked Sato's permission to take their leave. That afternoon, wanting to stock up on food, Sato teamed up with Tama for a hunt. He chose her to help lift her spirits after the wolf incident. But now, the girls were covered in mud again, so Sato asked Mia to test his new invention, turning water magic into cleansing bubbles. It worked perfectly, washing away all the dirt from the two girls. That night, as the girls slept soundly, Sato kept watch and decided to experiment with his storage space. Through the tests, Sato learned the maximum range for storing items is about 3 meters. Plus, his storage can separate components of mixtures, but not things already dissolved like salt water. Sato also tried dissecting some insect corpses. It would save Lai time from butchering the prey that Tama and Pochi catch, but no matter how many times he tried, it just didn't work. Still, his storage outshines Arisa's item box any day. Proof is, when he put 2 burning papers in, they came out differently. The one from the item box was completely out, while the one from his storage was still blazing fiercely. The next morning, Sato prepared a lavish feast for his companions. He'd actually made it the night before and kept it in his storage, so it stayed piping hot. After breakfast, the group continued their travels. After traveling a good distance, they reunited with old Mai and his team. They had built a grave for the rat warriors who fell protecting Mia. Seeing it, Mia stepped forward and sang a heartfelt prayer for those brave souls to rest in peace. Then, old Mai gifted Sato a bell called the Bell of Tranquility. It was because Sato had earned Princess Mia's trust. After a long journey, Sato stopped at a town to unwind with some drinks. He tipped the waitress generously and even covered the whole tab so everyone could enjoy the drinks and food without arguments. As Sato was about to leave, the waitress suddenly led him upstairs. It turned out this tavern doubled as a love hotel, and she offered him a special service. The next morning, Mia and Arisa scolded him, accusing him of cheating. Struggling to explain, the group suddenly spotted a man bullying a couple. His intense stare left Sato feeling uneasy. Until Lai explained, Sato realized he was the one who forced them to sell monster cores. Then, Sato approached the couple and gave them a healing potion. Thanks to it, the husband's broken bone was mended. Seeing that, Arisa asked Sato if it was okay to do so. They might need it themselves. Her point made sense, so during their next break, Sato dove into studying alchemy and quickly mastered making a potion using the formulas he had. However, without a special container, the potion's quality would drop. Examining a sample bottle, Sato noticed a unique magic circle at the bottom. Realizing his materials were running low, he decided to head to the nearest town the next day. That night, Sato worked tirelessly on a magic item. Noticing Arisa's curiosity, he let her try it out. At first she was thrilled, but once she learned it only made mana swirl in circles, she felt let down. When Sato tried it, the magic item overloaded with mana and exploded, startling all the girls awake, thinking enemies were attacking. As for Sato, he earned the title of the embodiment of chaos. The next morning they arrived in a town called Noki. There, Sato and Lai asked for directions to an alchemy shop. As they reached the door, a man suddenly confronted Sato for blocking the way. He threatened violence, but upon recognizing Sato's face, he backed off and called his subordinates to leave. Inside, meeting the shop owner, Sato asked to buy alchemy potions. With monster cores being scarce, each potion now costs a silver coin. Coincidentally, Sato's storage was full of them, but selling without a license is illegal, so he'd handle that later. Then, Sato inquired about stabilizers and magic scrolls. Though stock was plentiful, to get them, he had to trade cores of level 3 or higher. The last thing he wanted was potion bottles. However, according to her, the old man he met outside had bought them all. He even had requisition papers with the town lord's seal, so the owner couldn't refuse. Instead, She suggested Sato check the pottery shop, so after leaving, he told Lai to head back and prepare dinner. As for him, he visited several pottery shops asking for bottles, but they were all sold out. As dusk fell, Sato disguised himself and went to the alchemy shop to trade monster cores for goods. Though it was illegal trading, she stayed true to her craft and didn't sell dangerous magic scrolls to strangers. So, Sato only got basic ones, like shields or signals. Next, he learned the skills from the scrolls and used them to explore the dark areas his map couldn't reach. Venturing deeper into the forest, Sato realized he'd passed through a barrier. Using his appraisal skill, he learned it disorients anyone who crosses it. At that moment, the dark spot on his map lit up, and it showed several white dots approaching him. Since he was intruding illegally, the witch's reaction was only natural. Sato thought about leaving, but it was too late. The forest guards had arrived. The iron-armored leader was a young girl, and Sato was fighting while apologizing for accidentally entering the forest. Realizing her magic wasn't working, she called for her master. No sooner had she spoken than a massive bird swooped in and landed on her. Just like that, from the bird's back, an old witch appeared and knelt to introduce herself as the guardian of the illusion forest's mana source. Of course, she didn't forget to apologize for her student's rudeness towards Sato. In their conversation, Sato learned she mistook him for an envoy of Belinan because of his bell. So, he explained that he was just escorting someone from that clan. At that point, her student Iin arrived and bowed to apologize to Sato. Sato told her to lift her head, admitting he shared some of the blame. Then, the two began brewing healing potions as per their agreement. Through the old witch, Sato learned of their pact with Duke Kuhano. They must supply 300 potions twice a year in exchange for him keeping criminals and hunters out of the forest. Seeing Sato's interest in potion making, she happily taught him a special recipe in return for his help. Later, the old witch created a path of light to guide Sato out of the forest. In exchange, he had to deliver a letter to the giant in the woods. We then learned that her favor was for Sato to handle that delivery. The next morning, in the tavern, Sato overheard two men talking. They mentioned that the witches seemed to have met their potion quota this time, and it was clear they weren't happy about it. Just then, the potion craftsman Sato needed to meet arrived. The purpose was for him to teach Sato how to make those items, but town rules forbade him from teaching outsiders. Still, there was a loophole by registering as a pottery apprentice. Meanwhile, Sato used his skills to eavesdrop on those two men and learned the white-haired one plotted to become the lord instead of the town governor. Right then, Ariza and the other girls suddenly appeared, calling him back since it was past their bedtime. The next morning, while leading the girls to the pottery workshop, Sato spotted Iin being chased by a shady group. She was panicking, terrified her potions would be ruined. Luckily, Sato's group arrived just in time to help her escape. But an ambush waited behind the gate, and her carriage crashed into them. As a result, a large number of potion bottles for the Duke shattered. Only 120 bottles remained intact, and even some broken ones had potion left, which Sato collected into his storage. In total, about 10,000 milliliters, enough to refill 40 bottles. Afterward, the group took the intact bottles to the town governor for delivery, but he showed no mercy and used the pact to pressure them. His voice sounded familiar, but Sato couldn't place where he'd heard it. Then, Sato tried negotiating to make up the shortage with market-bought potions. Yet, the governor refused again. According to him, only potions made by the witches were acceptable. But Sato hadn't heard the old witch mention that, so he realized this was the man's scheme. He wanted the pact to fail and recalled him as the one from yesterday's eavesdrop. His goal was to erase the illusion forest and build a new town there. Next, Sato pointed out that wasn't part of the original pact, and asked who added those terms. In response, the man questioned how Sato knew the pact's details and sweated nervously when Sato mentioned knowing the forest witch. So, he finally agreed to let Sato substitute with potions of equal quality. Of course, Sato didn't forget to ask for a written confirmation to seal the deal. Though they negotiated successfully, they only had 3 hours left until the deadline. So, Iin sadly said they couldn't prepare the missing amount in time. At that moment, Leah's group arrived with a pile of potion ingredients. Even with the ingredients, it seemed impossible, as they'd still lack containers for the potions. Then, Sato figured out why they were buying up so many bottles. It was all part of their plan, and no wonder those two were so calm earlier. When Sato's group mentioned needing 180 bottles, the pottery owner was stunned, but Sato didn't want to drag him into this, he just wanted to borrow the kiln. Sensing their desperation, the owner agreed, and even offered to help make the bottles. Then, Sato assigned tasks to everyone, encouraging the girls to team up and overcome this challenge together. But the work was far from easy, as newcomers struggled to control the pottery wheel's spin. Only Sato could shape them using his skills. The real issue was drying them, as it would take 5 days in this weather. If put in the kiln wet, they'd explode. Hearing that, Sato used his system to create a spell that removes moisture. The result was perfect when he had Mia test it. Then, they dove back into shaping the bottles. As soon as they had enough, the pottery owner loaded them into the kiln. After that, they continued working together without pause. In the end, with everyone's effort, they managed to complete the task just in time. While eagerly waiting for the final creation to emerge, they shifted to helping Ayn craft her healing potions. Once that task was complete, the whole group hurried over to check on the kiln's progress. The pottery master assured them it just needed to cool down, and they could use it by dusk. Suddenly, the sly merchant appeared with his shady crew and accused Sato's group of making potion bottles without permission. So, by the town's rules, he threatened to have his men destroy the entire kiln. As a result, the potion bottles were shattered, leaving nothing behind. After those thugs left, Sato apologized to the pottery master for the kiln and borrowed the bird on Ine's head to contact the witch. Soon after, Arisa noticed something odd about the broken pieces. Seeing this, Sato smiled and explained that he had placed some faulty bottles to fool them. The real ones, he had quickly hidden in storage the moment he spotted the sly merchant. When he pulled one out for Arisa to see, it shattered instantly. The cause was the sudden temperature change from pulling it out of storage. So now, they needed to find a way to cool down those bottles. At that moment, Sato suddenly remembered his item box. He had once tested it by putting a burning paper inside, and it went out when he took it out. So, he tried transferring a bottle into the item box and then back to storage. The result was perfect. It cooled down just as he had hoped. Afterward, the group went to the white-haired man's office to get him to sign off on the delivery. The sly merchant didn't believe it at first, but he fell silent when the Earl's people confirmed it. He opened his mouth to ask Sato what trick he had used, and Sato calmly replied that it was all thanks to everyone's hard work and sweat. Then, Sato urged the town leader to sign and stamp the documents quickly, but he ignored the request, refusing to cooperate and stalling for time. At that point, Earl Kuhano suddenly appeared and offered to sign for Sato instead. He was there because the witch had told him all about the merchant's wicked deeds. That was exactly why Sato had used the bird on Ine's head to reach out to her. Cornered by the Earl, the white-haired man snapped and cast a spell to attack him. But his magic did no harm to the Earl at all. After all, reaching the rank of Earl meant he was no ordinary man. As the Earl prepared to strike them down, Sato stepped in and knocked out the villains. When the Earl asked why, Sato replied that children were present. Hearing this, the Earl sheathed his sword and remarked that the witch had a truly remarkable friend. Before departing, Sato apologized again to the pottery master, but he waved it off. Because of this, he had gained the Earl's permission to trade freely. To show her gratitude to Sato, Ine gifted him a magical lantern. On top of that, he received the title of the witch's friend from the old witch's blessing. And so, the group continued their epic adventure onward. The next morning, Sato woke up to find Nana sitting on him. As he reached out to touch her, Arisa caught them in the act. So, she quickly stepped in to stop any mischief. However, Nana was only asking Sato to adjust her core system. To do that, he needed to place his hand near her heart and channel mana into it. At that moment, Mia appeared and suggested he touch her back instead of her chest. That way his hand would still be close to her heart without losing effectiveness. Even though Sato only touched her back, Nana let out sounds that you'd never hear in front of parents. This made Arisa seethe with jealousy and eager to take Nana's place. As for Jenna, every time she received a letter from Sato, she proudly showed it to her teammates. Then, she smiled to herself while reading its warm contents, feeling connected to Sato's side. While the group sat down for a meal, Liza and Pochi brought over a wild plant. Pochi insisted it was edible because it smelled so delicious. Hearing this, Sato tested it first and found it surprisingly sweet. After confirming it was safe, he offered some to Pochi and Tama, but instead of eating normally, they gently licked his hand. Seeing this, Arisa handed him a cloth. Sato. But when she tried to use it as an excuse to lick his hand, he stopped her. That evening, Pochi asked Sato to read a story for everyone. But he had barely started when 3 little girls couldn't fight off their sleepiness, so they decided to pause and rest in the carriage. The next morning, when Sato awoke, he found himself surrounded by the girls. This left Arisa burning with envy, as Sato enjoyed his harem without her. After that, the group woke up, shared a hearty breakfast, and climbed back into the carriage to resume their journey.